welcome to the channel, everyone. Just wanted to touch base a little bit on this topic right here. As you know, the teaching world and the coaching world is, well, there are some differences. There's a lot of similarities in some of the things that we go through day to day. One of the topics that I wanted to get at today was the idea of passion tax. And this is an article here. You can see that it's from 2019. And this is obviously at the very beginning of, you know, the pandemic. Well, this is something that goes far on before the pandemic. It's a entity in and of itself. The idea of passion tax really is pretty much the premise is that, you know, an employee, let's say a school, an ISD, your head coach, whatever it is that whoever you are working for. And again, this goes outside of teaching and coaching as well. But if you have a passion for what you do, the people that are your bosses can take advantage of that. And it is known as a passion tax. If you have a passion for something, you have a passion for students, you have a passion for athletes, you just have a passion for kids, we are well aware that, you know, teachers and coaches are taken advantage of because of it. If you ever notice, teachers are often asked to do extra duties as assigned. Coaches work well into up to 100 hours a week, if not more sometimes, especially during football season. I myself worked up anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week coaching high school football. And the odd thing about that, though, is that the year that we were working 100 hours a week was our worst season. So some of that stress that goes into a losing season, you know, coaches start trying to figure things out, and they think we're going to outwork other people, so just stay later, right? When we had our best seasons, honestly, we worked the least amount of hours that week. It was really just going to practice. Once practice was over, get the little stuff done, like laundry and all that kind of stuff. And we were probably only working 65 to 70 hours a week during that season, right? But how do people take advantage of you if you love what you do, right? A lot of people say, if you love what you do, it's not a work, it's not a job. It's true, right? And that's where employers take advantage of those type of people. So most of y'all that are teachers and coaches, you'll go into the profession and you'll show up at convocation at the beginning of the school year, and your superintendent will give this big speech to all the teachers in all your schools in your district. And they'll often, whenever they make that comment, we know you don't do it for the money. More than likely, you're not getting a very good raise, if a raise at all, right? Because they start plugging at that, poking at that little thing right there of, you are doing this because you care for kids. So remember that, because we're not giving you a raise. And that's essentially what it is. Your passion tax. Do teachers pay a passion tax? Heck yeah, they do. They pay a big passion tax. And today's society, especially today with the big old teacher shortages, not enough substitutes even to cover the teacher shortages, just getting piled on because teachers feel that guilt. It's their responsibility. It's put on them. Now, I'm using teachers and coaches as the example. This goes into a lot of different professions. Nursing, it really does go into nursing as well. Some people who just genuinely care for other people and want them to be well, they pile on them as well, giving them more work to do, right? And then you feel guilted into doing this work and volunteering for this kind of work, no matter what it is. And this article right here, and I'll link it into the description, talks about some pretty good things that deal with passion tax and the idea of that work is its own reward, right? So this is, you're like, hey, you're not going to be compensated in any way with this, but you know, it's a reward just to get it done. And trying to get volunteers to do things. So for example, if you're a teacher and they need somebody to be head of the art club or the math club or the physical club or whatever it is, you know, oh, there's no money, but we just need somebody because we need somewhere for the kids to go. and then automatically teachers are guilted into it. They volunteer extra hours and no extra pay, right? Or no extra compensation besides nachos at the end of the week or a gene pass, right? And for the coaches, that kind of is not a benefit because they're probably wearing wind pants or shorts anyways. But you know, and injustice is a strong word for this, but it kind of does give it the right tone. There is no compensation. I mean, in all honesty, let's be honest, like if they were to pay teachers and coaches what they deserved, the taxes that would go along with that would be outrageous. Like people would not be able to afford it, right? Just taxes would, the taxes that go to education, they would just increase it, and things outside would be just more expensive, right? Now, I'm not anywhere near knowing what goes on as far as like inflation and taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's just my assumption that if teachers got paid what people felt they deserved to get paid, then the taxes that go along with paying for educators would go up as well, right? So we would be paying for it somehow or another. This article really just goes into the idea of what are you willing to do once you're guilted into it? And it's pretty much everything when it comes to teachers, right? You know, you're covering other teachers' classes right now. You're covering teachers' classes that a teacher was never filled into that spot yet. So you're having to give up your spare time, you're giving up your lunchtime, you're giving up all these just quiet time that you should be having to do your job, and it's going somewhere else, right? Coaches, it's the same thing. When I began coaching my first years, 18, 19 years ago, I think about the fact that I was getting paid, mind you, this is during that 100-hour-a-week season. I was getting paid roughly $31,000 a year. Now, of that $31,000 a year, $29,000 of that, 28.5, was for teaching. The rest of it, that that $2,500 was for coaching. $900 for football. $900 for football. And I was working 100 hours a week. Again, that's counting teaching and coaching, right? So teaching roughly 40 hours a week. As coaches, you got to get the job done in that 40 hours. Not even talking about the work that I took home to do special ed paperwork or grading papers or anything like that. I'm just talking about bell to bell, 40 hours, right? Because once that bell rings at the end of the day, teacher or not, work, grades, whatever you got to do, you're coaching now. You are now a coach. Once that 3 o'clock hits, you're coaching, right? So you got to do the coaching work. And so that was roughly about 60 hours a week of just football for 15 weeks, 16 weeks. I can't even remember how many weeks it was, right? And so then you're talking about 100 hours a week. So that means roughly I was getting paid anywhere from 50 to 60 cents an hour for coaching high school football, right? So take advantage of the idea that you love sports, you love kids, you love football, you love doing what you do and being around the people that you're around. So they take advantage of that. Passion tax is a real thing, right? Even in Hollywood, they talk about this a little bit. Loving what we do makes us easy to exploit. And that's a great line right there. Obviously, this is coming from Hollywood, so they know how to come up with great lines, but that's what I'm talking about here. Your love for something, your passion for something is sometimes what's getting in the way of progress as far as, hey, maybe we need to hire more people. Hey, maybe teachers shouldn't be taking on so many responsibilities so they can do their job better, right? If coaches didn't have to if they got to just coach and not have to worry about, doing the laundry, chalking the lines, doing all these extra things that coaches have to do. I mean, I had to water the field when I was coaching, right? So there's a lot of different things that we had to do in order just to get our job done outside of coaching itself, right? Not just with the kids. There's a lot more that goes into it. And your passion for that, again, gets in the way. Learning how to say no to something that's tough, though, because it makes you, society has made you feel like you're a selfish person if you expect more, right? If they're saying, hey, we're getting too much work. Hey, we're not getting paid enough for the amount of hours that we do. You're guilted into believing that that makes you a selfish person when that's not true, right? So, teachers complain about all this extra hours that we have to work, grading papers, all this kind of things too. But it goes both ways sometimes. I think like the idea of homework, I'm not really big on giving students homework only because, what, I don't really want extra work when I go home. So why am I giving kids extra work when they go home? These kids that play sports, they're at the school at the same time we are. I mean, they're showing up maybe 10, 15 minutes after we show up, and they're leaving the same time that we leave, right? So their hours, their weekly hours are not any different, right? So if I'm coaching 70 hours or teaching and coaching 70 hours a week, that means the kids are probably doing about 65. So I want you to take that into consideration when you start handing out all these major assignments and stuff like that for them to do at home. We don't want them to be these students that grow up to just do what the boss says. We want them to be free thinkers, but we want them to be able to make good choices. And so there's a fine line. There's a fine line. I take that back. There is no fine line. I'm gonna revamp. I'm gonna go back on that one, because there is no line. That's the thing. People always think it's black or white. It's gray. The world is gray, and we need to understand that. The world, all the choices that are made in this world are in that gray area. It's rarely ever black or white. Math, 5 + 5 is 10. Yes, that's in the black area. You know, don't punch people in the hallway as you're walking down for no reason. Yeah, that's in the white area. That's stuff that we know. There's a line, right? But when it comes to certain things, most of the decisions in the world it's gray, right? From things that we teach the students to, the character traits that we try to teach them. Like, they need to be able to make these decisions throughout the world and not just really like follow orders. They have to be able to be in a situation and know what's right and wrong and what's right for this situation, even though this other situation was similar, but I need to make it for this specific situation. And this turning into a passion tax for us becomes the passion tax for the kids, right? Because we're putting it on them. It's being put on us, and then we're putting it on them, right? The state, let's say I'm from Texas, so the state of Texas puts it on our admin or our superintendents, and our superintendents put it on our principals. Our principals put it on us, and we put it on our kids, right? So there's a lot of stuff that just, it rolls downhill and it hits the kids, and it doesn't work out for anybody, right? So the passion tax, right? How do we get around that? Right, I'm going to go real quick because I just Googled this real quick just for the sake of argument. And yeah, 70 to 100 hours a week, that sounds about right. The pay is way better than when I started, obviously. I mean, I make much better money now, more than double of what I made when I first started. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of complaint that teachers don't make what they should. I honestly think teachers do make what they should. I think what the real thing is that teachers don't get the good enough benefits, and I think too much work is put on teachers. So and I'll say this, my former district, or my districts now, pays fairly well for the state of Texas. And so I can't complain from that. And if you work in a district that pays a lot lower, then that's a different story. And I really don't know. Right. But I think for the most part, we're in my area, teachers get paid fairly well. The only thing is that there's a lot of work piled on them to where the work doesn't match the pay. And that goes for any school district, no matter what the pay is. That's just how it is all the time, all over the state right now. Right. So I do think that the teacher pay is fine. I just think the workload is way more than what the pay is. Which is kind of weird to say. because I know that, it's like, well, we should get paid for the work we do. Well, no, I mean, I just think that we get paid fine. I think they should cut the work and they should hire another teacher to do that, or another person to do that. There's a lot of work that's involved that teachers do, that coaches do. There really shouldn't be their responsibility. It should be put on somebody else, like data collection, things like that. There should be someone hired to do data collecting when it comes to these scores, right? Teachers are not there to teach for a test anyways. They're there to inspire kids. Have somebody else do the data collecting for them, right? We don't got time for that. We need time to inspire kids, right? We don't want to waste our time crunching numbers, right? So that's just my rant for today, guys. I kind of wanted to get at that, the idea of passion tax, wanting to throw that phrase out there at you and have you talk about it a little bit and pass that around, because it's important to know that we are right in the center. We're in the epicenter of when it comes to passion tax, and we pay that passion tax without thinking about it, without skipping a beat. And I want you to know that you're appreciated for doing it, but you don't need to be doing it. We need to find a better way for our students, and the only better way to do it for our students is to find a better situation for us and put us in a better situation so we get those kids in the right spot. I love to hear your comments down below. Like and subscribe, guys, and I'd really appreciate it. I'm just getting the channel started, so I really hope you come along this journey with me.
Yeah.